Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so of course, it's game day. The Lakers play tonight against the Golden State Warriors. I believe that game is here in Los Angeles at Crypto.com Arena. Well, the Lakers are 0-2 in the preseason right now. The Golden State Warriors are 2-0 after beating us last Sunday, and then, of course, coming in and playing another game in between that. And we haven't played since that beating. And it's been a lot of news coming our way, man, specifically about LeBron James. His sciatica injury is a real thing. That's gonna probably keep him out for about 4 weeks. They're gonna reevaluate him in 4 weeks, rather, and so hopefully that means good news. He can get back on the court, but there's always room for those type of things to go the other way, and he'll be out a little longer. So at this age, we understand that Father Time's going to start knocking in one way or another. It looks like, with this being potentially a chronic issue, that there's evidence that that's what's happening right now. It's kind of tough on us Laker fans. I made a video talking about that yesterday, but we still got basketball games to play. We still have a season to attack here, and Luka Don is expected to make his debut in preseason today. Hopefully he'll go, but I don't think it's as essential that he does for any other reason than to just create cohesiveness with the unit that he's going to be running with, the starting lineup, getting used to the guys, and vice versa. We definitely understand how important his health is to us, and so I would say we need to keep his minutes low in this game, even if he does go out there and kill it. I wouldn't have him play both halves. There needs to be a balance between what it is that we want in terms of data versus what it is that we're willing to risk in terms of him potentially rolling an ankle and we're pretty much down our entire court. So, I want to respect our other role players and guys with high-level roles, but if we can't suit up Bron or Luka, I don't think our team is going very far. So let's just be honest about that. But there's something to be said for getting your rhythm and keeping your rhythm, and I do think Luka would love to get out there and get a few shots up for that reason as well. So, yeah, here we go. Lakers, third preseason game. We did not look good in the first two, but we also were missing a great deal of what makes us the Lakers. It looks like those things will continue to potentially be in and out of the lineup, and it's not the way you want to start the season. But at the same time, you understand that your basketball team is, kind of built around an older person and somebody who's recently reinventing his body. And, you would not say that health is something that you'd be able to bank on. Just in general, I think we understand that. But overall, we have some guys that are ready to run just the same. And the Golden State Warriors definitely have their share of players out there who are a bit older, to say the least, as well. Talking about Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Al Horford, Seth Curry. You get the point. They're an older squad too. So most of the guys on there, if not all of the guys on their injury report, are listed here as game time decisions for tonight's game. Moses Moody added to that list of people that I just said. Everybody else that I mentioned is, in fact, what makes up that injury report, ironically enough. For your Lakers, Luka, as I said, game time decision. Bron is, of course, going to be out for at least another 4 weeks. Abdul Thero is a game time decision, and Maxi Kleber is a game time decision. So hopefully with Thero being a game time decision, we'll actually see him, because we have yet to lay eyes on our second round pick from this previous draft. So yeah, man, it's a lot of stuff going on around the LA Lakers side of things, but one thing that hasn't been going on is good offensive play. We've been struggling a lot. We put up 103 points in the game last Sunday against this Warrior team, and then prior to that against the Phoenix Suns, we put up only 81 points. We can always talk about our defensive deficiencies, but I just think our roster is not necessarily constructed to be able to get every stop. So you don't really focus as much on the defensive end as it pertains to it struggling and it being something to be concerned about. The offense, yes. I think that at the end of the day, we're supposed to be an offensive team. We want to be able to put more points up than the next guy. And we've been putt-putting throughout the course of this preseason. Now, our defensive issues are extensive, I will not overlook them. I think we can improve from here, and I do think we have the personnel to, at times, put very good defensive lineups on the floor. I don't know that you're going to have your best stuff on the floor when you do that, however, because the majority of the players that we trust for the heavy lifting are guys that are known for doing their business on the offensive end. So, it's a little bit of a tricky construction to our roster, but that's nothing new because we've kind of had this dynamic for several years in a row now. So, the Los Angeles Lakers have some new guys they want to incorporate, and hopefully we'll get a chance to see them tonight against this Golden State Warrior team that we would love to get some revenge against for last week's shellacking. Even though they're preseason games and we could live with losses in the preseason, it's not just that you lose, it's how you lose, and the fact that you have to see that same team again. You're going to want to get out there and be tougher than you were in the previous game. Even if you still lose, you would like the outcome to be more favorable to you in your effort to kind of match that those expectations. So I think our team is more than capable, but at the same time, there's a lot of newness to this squad, and with the LeBron James news, there may be some letdown to the overall body language as well. So I get that, and I expect our team to go out there and fight. But like I said, we're still missing some guys, so I still expect not to see my best Laker ball out there. Now, there are a few people I want to circle for this upcoming game because I want to see how they progress from last week to this week, since last week's data was so glaring in the negative side of things. One player I want to see really step up is Rui Hachimura. Now that we know LeBron James is not going to be available to us, you're the guy that we keep around basically as his body double. You've been struggling real bad in the preseason. Some would say because you haven't had the role that you're properly supposed to be in, be showcased. You're now going to be in that role. He needs to play better. If people are going to feel good about him be going forward, whether LeBron's in place or not, Rui's going to have to start now and start establishing a rhythm now and start really paying attention to details a bit more seriously as well, because I think that's where people have been criticizing him as of late. Is he can figure out how to do all the other things in terms of scoring and he can get a board here and there, that type of thing. He can maneuver around on the basketball floor, but sometimes Rui's attention to detail lacks, and it shows out there on the defensive end and situations, switching situations, etc. So, we just want to see Rui put his best forward, put his thinking cap on, and really take advantage of this opportunity where LeBron James is going to be missing for several weeks. And you're the guy we have paid to play the role if for some reason that ever happens. So that's who I'm looking at first. I want to see Rui Hachimura really step up. I'd imagine there shouldn't be an issue getting him on the floor out there, given that I do not see him on the injury report. So, I want to see him step up. That's who we look to give us the scoring that Bron's unable to give us when Bron is out at that position. So, yeah, the next person I'm considering in this game, just give me a second, Davis, our young rookie, because he's played so well in the first two games. I don't know if this is an outlier or if this could be potentially a trend, and if so, he's continuing to make a case for making the team. And so R.J. Davis, number 55, is another person I'm paying attention to for the right reasons. He's put I'd say something on, what do you call it, like putting my mind is going blank, but a microscope is the word, on himself. I would have said a target, but it gives the wrong idea. But he puts a microscope on himself, and essentially to say people are going to be paying close attention to him because he's been playing so well in the first two games of the preseason. How does he handle the pressure of being somebody that's probably not just overlooked by the other team, but somebody that they're saying, okay, we need to pay attention to him if they're doing their homework on us? And so that's what I'm looking for. How does he respond to two good games in a row where he was aggressive and helpful to the overall team process, efficient and getting to the line and things like that? He's making a name for himself, and I think that if he plays well tonight, he will really raise eyebrows even further. So that's who I'm paying attention to as well. I want to see him continue playing as hard as he's been playing. The next person, Dalton Connect. man, he struggled in the first 2 games. But I also believe I know what he can do when he's right, and he's not injured in any way. So it's just a matter of him working his way through this slump. And we've been, critical of him in the past, not really coming in with the attitude that we needed him to come in with. Fairly reasonably in place because of the fact that he was traded, and then the trade was rescinded, and it looked like he was taking that in a difficult way. And so I credit some of his struggles to that. But at the same time, this is a first round pick, 3-year rookie from college. You just want to see the guy show what he's supposed to show us, which is confidence from behind the arc, rebounding, effort on the defensive end, and just an overall go-to scorer. I'm not saying he needs to be his future self today. I'm just saying that the confidence that you would expect from a guy who can do what he does, he's not displaying. And it really does start and end with confidence for Dalton Knecht, in my opinion. I don't think it's about form. I don't think he's lacking in any physical areas that would be glaring down there. He has a good NBA body. He's very athletic. He has a good knack for the ball. I think this is a good player somewhere in there, but he has to reestablish the confidence, and then from there shoot his way out of the slump. And I think that we saw a good quarter out of him in the last game, but I still think he's in that slump. And it's just incumbent upon him to continue to grind through this and, let time heal the process of that slump. At the end of the day, you can make a slump worse by overshooting and things like that, so we don't want him to overshoot. But I would like to see him get at least 10 shots up tonight, especially with the understanding that LeBron is out. You have more of a need for other guys to step up and overcome that scoring deficit that's not in place from LeBron being out. So Dalton Knecht is one of those guys that I think if we can get points out of him on a consistent basis, if we can get him feeling confident about himself in that 3-ball falling game, it just increases the ceiling of this Laker basketball team entirely. And I've been saying that for 2 years now, since he was drafted. So, yeah, that's somebody that I definitely want to see the Lakers continue to work on. And then last but not least is Gabe Vincent. As well as he came out in the last game, played some of the best ball I'd seen him play, albeit in a losing effort against the same squad. I thought he was great. It's been a week now, and Gabe Vincent is somebody we've accused of not being very active in every game, and he may be active, but it doesn't show up in the box score. People tease him about that kind of thing, and he's just really playing good ball right now. So I'm curious to see if that heat continues to carry forward. Is this the version of him that I can expect a little more so, or is he just playing really good ball and he's going to kind of plateau a little later? Because we would need him to be his best in order for us to really reach our ceiling, especially, again, with LeBron James out. So that's somebody I'm looking at to say, okay, let's carry over momentum from last week's game. You were in a good rhythm on both sides of the floor. You were getting people involved. I want to see if Gabe Vincent can continue to find himself as active and as productive as he was in that game going into this one, when we're going up against the exact same team. So that's really what I want to see. I think this was great momentum for him to potentially build off of and just set the tone that he's going to go back to who he was in Miami as a very productive bench player that people could trust. So that's what I want to see from him. I like where we're at to start the season there. Overall, we just want to see our team be a bit more competitive than they were able to show in the first 2 games. I thought there was some improvement from the first game to the second game. So I think that's kind of how you measure things. And I just want to see our team get better. I'd like to see the work that they've put in over the past week and all the different things that they learned from the tape from last week show up today in the form of them being prepared, fully energetic, and ultimately having more attention to detail. That's what I want to see from the LA Lakers. Don't really care about the outcome. Not really concerned about our deficiencies as a roster without LeBron necessarily. I think our entire thought process should shift toward, of course, incorporating Luka in if he plays today. But then from there, just developing those young players and getting them into comfortable roles that we can use them in later on throughout the course of the season. Because Our depth is most important to me. The comfort of those young players and their development is important to me. And sometimes you just find yourselves in some uncomfortable circumstances as it pertains to your roster. So the most important thing for a team to do when you run into an injury like ours is continue to keep your mindset on developing your starting lineup as if that player were still in place, but then simultaneously shift a little bit more intention and momentum into the players that need to prove themselves and who have to play more ball in order to provide the best ball they've played. So, that's what I'm saying. Shift our entire focus toward getting Dalton out of this slump, incorporating the young players, continuing to use this time to vet through who we are going to keep and who we're not, and not worry too much about continuity being lacking for the sake of our missing pieces in that starting lineup or what have you. I wouldn't worry too much about us struggling with that unit as much as I say let's just make these kids a bit more experience out there by giving them more time and let them run up the preseason. And if we lose all our preseason games, so what? Because at the end of the day, if Luka's in his rhythm, everybody else is going to fall in line regardless. I think the most important thing to remember about the Lakers is we're centered around the ball going one place pretty much, and then from there, him divvying out to others from which to operate. I think it's going to be heavy Luka this year, just like we saw last year. I'd like to think we're going to be a lot more creative about how we're going to do it, but we super spammed him last year with the ball in his hands, and with LeBron out, I'm pretty certain it's going to be all about him. So I like that. I think that makes us our best right now, for certain. I think Austin Reeves getting his looks is obviously most important as well, to get the most out of him. They kind of do the same thing. I think Austin's going to be fine working off of Luka. So I'm not really worried too much about that. But it's going to be incumbent upon those two players specifically to kind of carry the majority of what it is that we're doing offensively. Because everybody else, some of those guys are limited offensively, or they have such deficiencies on the defensive end that you can't keep the best offensive players out there too long without giving up too much. So, we need to understand that developing the guys behind the guys that are one way, so to speak, is most important, so we can incorporate them and have a bit more flexibility off of the strength of them having more intangibles to showcase on both sides of the floor, and then from there just the ability to play basketball at a level that doesn't have you giving and taking and saying, so, more or less, if I give up something here, I can benefit greatly from what else is provided by that, for which made me give this up. You know what I mean? I think at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is we have one-way guys. So if a defensive player is out there and he's not scoring, you just live with that. I think some of the guys behind those guys essentially have more intangibles and won't force us into that give or take type of mentality. So, yeah, that's really what I have to say. I just think the Los Angeles Lakers just got to start the season understanding that you're going to be playing from behind. Until LeBron comes around, you may play good ball and win some games, but you're not expected to be winners in every night like you may if LeBron was healthy. So for the time being, we just got to suit up what we have out there and develop these young guys, man. Shift our focus. So that's really it, man. Normally I go over the previous opponents' previous games. I watch highlights on them versus the Portland Trail Blazers. It was a shootout that the Golden State Warriors ultimately won. And, at the end of the day, I don't think I want to go over those stats right now, only because I don't think it's as much about the opponent in this particular matchup. Normally you want to talk about the opponent and what they did, but it's really about the Lakers finding a way to incorporate Luka into the situation. And then from there, shoot some of these guys who are in these shooting slumps out of that shooting slump. I look at Rui, I look at Dalton as the two culprits there. The most important thing, in my opinion, is to get them out of that shooting slump before the start of the season. You may want to add Ayton to that too, because his offense hasn't really been coming around. So I can legitimately say that could be a thing. I've been very pleased with him on the defensive end. I've been very pleased with him on the glass. I think the offense will come around. I have zero concerns about that. But for the sake of what it is we're talking about, getting those guys out of shooting slumps for the minutes that they're out there, I think is crucial. If they score, great. If they continue to struggle, I can live with that. But the idea is to try to get them more comfortable before the start of the season so that they don't look like this when we turn to them as the runners around Luka. So that's what I want to see, man. We got some key offensive scorers who are struggling right now. Let's get those guys out of those shooting slumps. And, yeah, man, our defense, we have to get the most out of ourselves defensively. We are not the most athletic team in the league. We know that. I think we'll be much better once we get Abdul Thero out there. And, again, incorporate some of these young guys that we've gotten on undrafted market who contribute a little more on that side. We need to start really playing better overall team defense with who we're using in the meantime. And that's really what I'm here to say. I understand our limitations, but it was a lot of not talking going on the floor out there these first two games. Certain guys playing with a lot of energy, not matching that energy, so to speak, in other areas. I just think when you really stare at what the Lakers have been giving us through the first two games, some of what the frustrations are is guys being in shooting slumps and then on the other end not giving us as much because of it. And then just in general, a team that doesn't know one another that well, who happen to have players who may be deficient on the defensive end. So it's tough. I don't think we're going to be that great of a defensive team this year, but like I said, we do have some defensive talent. And I think other guys need to hover around those players and try to get the most out of themselves throughout the course of the season. Everybody should improve defensively this year. If we're doing things correctly, that should be an easy aim for our franchises to assure that everyone on the team over the course of the season gets better on the defensive end. And that would be a challenge that I would issue to the coaching staff to say, I don't really care how much better they get. I just want to see improvement. Because if each and every man can improve on that side of the floor as we ramp up our process throughout the course of the season, you can best believe by the end of the year you'll be a playoff team if everyone has improved somewhat defensively on this team. So that's what I want to see. Because there's too many talented defensive players for the other guys to not rub off on, so to speak, or vice versa. You want to see people talking to Gabe Vincent, people talking to Vanderbilt. You know what I mean? We've got some real defensive players down there who these other guys should be able to learn from. And I just think that the energy down there, I want to see who's feeding off of other people's energy tonight. Not every man for themselves, but a whole unit. And if JJ can get these people looking like a unit today, I think it'll go a very long way in the Los Angeles Lakers being pleased with the outcome, regardless whether they win or lose. So that's what the preseason's all about, man. Improvement, weeding out the bad ones, so to speak. Anybody that would otherwise need their minutes reduced or cut or something like that, you want to figure all that out now. Find some rhythm with your main scorers, some continuity with your main go-to people. Keep them healthy. That's really what it's all about in the preseason. And, Golden State Warriors are a team we're going to see 167,000 times. It's one of my least favorite matchups. But it's not because it's not fun to watch a good portion of the time. I just don't appreciate how national media tends to cover them during the game. It drives me nuts. But, that's just a credit to the superstar that are on the teams. You give credit to Steph Curry and his guys. You give credit, of course, to LeBron James, Luka, and our guys as well. So, when you have storied guys who've been going up against one another for years, like LeBron and Steph, of course the media is going to cover it with a certain emphasis. But at the end of the day, it can be a bit frustrating to watch them glaze the other team as they tend to. So, yeah, I hate seeing this matchup coming around. But at the end of the day, I don't know how many more times we're going to have LeBron and Steph going up against one another. Obviously, we don't get that tonight. So it's just one more reason to consider when you have these type of great talents who play with one another or play against one another for many years. Cherish those moments when they do, because you never know when they're over. And at this point, I'd imagine LeBron and Steph will be on the court with one another again. But who knows the way things are going. health-wise, you just never know. So, yeah, man, that's something to think about as we watch this game tonight. And, welcome back, Luka. We've missed you. I know that you're not injured. People have been rumoring that Luka was also dealing with something, but no, they've just been resting him because he played deep into the summer in Eurobasket. So, I can look forward to seeing him out there. 77, of course, our new superstar. We have every bit of faith in him that he's going to help us win a championship if we build what we need to around him. I'm certain that we can get it done. And this is kind of like day one. Even though we made the trade last year, he came in, got all the way to the playoffs. That wasn't really us establishing him, more so than him having to just accept the fact that the trade took place and then try to incorporate himself into the situation. When you start off and you get your training camp and you get, an understanding of the roster and what it is built around you, etc., then you start to really understand that you're the leader on the unit, and they are expected to carry it in whatever form or whatever fashion it may be in. So we may be down an engine without LeBron James, but the pressure's still on Luka. And at this point, it's the beginning of his era. And we're really in that space where, the torch is being passed. He's the guy, and he's healthy. And this is going to be the first day where he's going to get a chance to see what's going on this season as it pertains to his brand new body against this type of talent in the NBA. And, he's been working hard, changing his diet, and it shows. The proof is in the pudding. And I think we're going to see that tonight in purple and gold. So I look forward to seeing his debut, skinny Luka, for the LA Lakers. And I think we always have a chance at a championship with this type of talent on our team. So it's just a matter of us making sure the right things are around him and making sure that we're, as I said, progressing from player to player, getting better in the areas of weakness necessary. And if you let the chips fall where they may and you do the work, you find yourself happy with the results. And I think our team, if they adopt to doing the work, will be happy with those results. So that's really what it is, man. I'm stumbling through this video, but at the end of the day, I'm happy to be back. It's been a nice long summer. I feel replenished. Laker ball is in business. And at 6:30 p.m., we have the Golden State Warriors, of whom, we should always have a chip on our shoulder against. We should always want to beat them, especially when they come into our building. Their fans are going to be out. You know how that goes. They offered us a nice little butt whooping last week. We accept that. A 111-103 loss is what we took. But at the end of the day, what I saw was a team who was down big, raging a comeback effort against a Golden State Warrior team that was using its second and third unit team. And I was pretty proud of what I saw down there. We put up a nice fight and made that a respectable basketball game after it being a complete blowout. So I think that momentum should be something that the Laker team is considering. Whatever ways we were able to attack them then, we should be trying to duplicate them today. So that's what I have to say. I think the Los Angeles Lakers have an opportunity to get their first win tonight, catch this Golden State team off guard, bring Luka back, get him going. So that's what I expect to see. I'm going to call it and say I want to see a win tonight, not just us having an effort game, but I want a victory with this one. It should be personal out there. So that's pretty much my point of view. Of course, they're going to be running all of their guys. So I don't know if we're the better team on the floor per se, but I think our effort should bleed through. I think we should definitely be better than we were last Sunday, because we've had plenty of time to think about that. So yeah, that's what it is, man. Third game of the preseason, Lakers versus Golden State, 6:30 p.m. I was going to say Staples Center, but of course, Crypto.com arena. I'll have something for you at halftime and as well at the end of this basketball game when it's all said and done. So that's pretty much what I got to say. My name is BDF44. I thank y'all for watching.